Republicans are obsessed with cutting budgets, but only the budgets that don't deal with tax cuts, subsidies to profitable industries, and military spending. But on basic necessities, Republicans have no problem slashing those funds down to nothing. These cuts have left cities and states all over this country in dire straits, and I have attorney Michael Burg with me now to explain what's happening. Michael, I think it's interesting. There's been a lot of talk about the economy overall is recovering. We're adding jobs left and right in this country. But that kind of underscores the fact that, no, there are still very deep economic crises in the United States today. And in a lot of cases, it's down at the city and state level, these man-made crises from Republican leaderships. Tell us what's happening here.
Well, first of all, in the states that, quite frankly, that were flush with cash during the oil and gas boom, the fracking that went on in North Dakota, Wyoming, the gas wells, most of these states and municipalities now are broke. They have extreme debt. Wyoming, who had excess, in fact, they redistributed money to the taxpayers instead of keeping it in the general fund. Now they're broke. But people have to understand that they already were going broke as a result of the securitized CDO crisis and the 2008 crash. What happened there is these states and municipalities had hundreds of millions of dollars. Some states had more than that, some states had less, in which they had bought these CDOs. They've not been reimbursed by the federal government, and quite frankly, many of the states were so embarrassed by the fact that they had invested in these things that they didn't pursue any remedies against the large investment banks or the rating agencies. So they already had shortages potentially. And then with the downturn of the oil shale here in Colorado or in Wyoming or North Dakota and other places where they rely strictly in Oklahoma now, they now are in a situation where their economy, they're losing jobs, they've lost significant revenues, tax revenues and otherwise, and there's the potential that it's going to continue to get worse and worse as oil remains under $30. So it's a real problem.
Well, it's interesting. There seems to be, three parts to the story. We have the declining energy sector in one route or one area due to the fact that, prices are decreasing. We're really, at least talking about as a country moving towards more renewable energy sources, which would be phenomenal. Then you have the second part that you touched on there with Wall Street's involvement. And what's interesting about Wall Street is that Republicans love Wall Street. Wall Street gives them a ton of money. But what they don't realize is that Wall Street is a pet cobra. And yes, you could say, look, my cobra is going to keep me safe. It's going to protect me. If somebody messes with me, it's going to bite them. But they don't realize that you can't control a cobra, and it's going to turn around and bite you the second it has the opportunity. And that's what they've done with these states. They took their money, they invested them, knowing these investments were going to fail. Wall Street makes a ton of money. These Republican cities and states completely go under. And they're left there saying, well, what the hell happened? I thought we were friends. I thought we, had this agreement. But Wall Street's just in it for themselves. Parties don't matter to Wall Street bankers. It's all about how can I make the most money today?
Absolutely. And the other thing you have to understand is the taxpayers, you and me and everyone out there watching, we paid for the bailout. Wall Street got bailed out. The investment banks got bailed out. Even foreign banks like Credit Suisse or Deutsche Bank, UBS, they got bailed out. But the municipalities and the states didn't get bailed out. No one gave them money. No one said, we're going to take care of your losses. And in fact, it now is going to go back to the taxpayers of those particular states to try to create more income, or there's going to be more substantial cuts in the budget. And what we're seeing is the Republican governors, the Republican legislators, they're saying, oh, no, we can't tax our people anymore. We're going to make more cuts. We're going to cut we're going to cut the fire protection. We're going to cut police protection. We're going to cut, other things that we need to do, the fixing of the roads. I mean, every day you see a story about a road that all of a sudden completely disintegrates, and that's because we haven't taken care of those things. And there's no money. There's no money to take care of those things.
Right, and that's, that is the third part of this story, is the Republican austerity cuts, where they say, look, we're not going to raise taxes, we're not going to increase revenues at all, we're going to cut spending, we're going to cut the schools, we're going to cut the police, we're going to cut the fire departments, all so that we can continue to give massive subsidies to companies operating in our states. I think what a lot of people don't understand is, here's an example. When Walmart says, hey, look, we want to open a new store in, Cheyenne, Wyoming. The city of Cheyenne says, okay, well, we'll do that. And in order to make sure you do come here, we're going to give you a lower tax rate. We're going to give you subsidies. We'll give you a deal on the land. They give away all this money just to bring in a store like Walmart. And Walmart and other companies will often start a bidding war between two cities as to where they open a store. And that's one area. You want to save money? You want to, protect schools, roads, bridges, everything? Stop giving subsidies to multi-billion-dollar companies, and that's a great place to start. And that's what a lot of people don't even understand that that's happening. But it's always the Republican-controlled governments that are out there pulling this little bait and switch, saying, we can't fund your school, but we're going to give $1 million to Walmart to just open a store.
Farron, absolutely, that's a great point. And what's interesting to me is it's all about semantics. Those same Republican governors are saying, you know what, let's get rid of unions. And by the way, let's not take care of people. Let's not give them food stamps. Let's not give them any welfare, but let's give corporate welfare. Corporate welfare. Let's give the biggest corporations in the world welfare. Whether that's, trust me, with the lack of production of oil and gas, there's going to be a lot of oil and gas companies, whether it's Exxon or Shell, that's going to be asking for subsidies, whether they're in the state or whether it's going to be in the federal government. They live off corporate welfare. They make those profits that are obscene off corporate welfare. Now there's a downturn in the economy. What they really should have been doing is investing in alternative energy methods. That's where we can create jobs. That's where we can help save the environment. That's where we can continue to raise income level for the workers. But instead, they continue to go out and trying to do it the old-fashioned way, which is basically just give money to the politicians, give them money to run on, give the Republicans, let them get in control, and then let's get that corporate welfare all for the detriment of the people and the roads and the bridges. And we talked about recently, and the water system.
Yeah. Well, and at the same time, the Republicans are saying, all right, we've had to do all this. We've had to give all the money to the wealthy, but just you wait. But while you're waiting for your trickle down, we've got to close down your kid's school. You're not going to have a fire department within 50 miles of your house anymore. Sorry, but you're still going to have to live with those lead pipes. The road to your house is crumbling. But don't worry, eventually trickle-down's going to come save you in 10 to 20 years, and then you'll get it. Then we'll have money, and then everybody lives happily ever after, which is a fitting point to end this on, because Republican austerity cuts, trickle-down, all of this nonsense is absolutely a Republican fairy tale. It's never going to happen. The creator of trickle-down says it was wrong to begin with, and it can't happen. It's economically impossible, and yet Republicans still push us. But Michael,
let me add one thing there, Farron. I'm sorry, before we close up, because what's going to happen is you're going to have layoffs. These oil and gas companies are starting to lay people off, whether it's in North Dakota or whether it's in Texas or Oklahoma, and they're going to be trying to blame the unemployment on Obama and the Democrats, when in reality, it's their own greed that caused all this in the first place, and the subsidies. So I just want people to be aware that if the unemployment goes up in those states, blame the people who are responsible for it, the Republicans and those giant corporations. I appreciate being able to put that out there, because I think it's important that our viewers understand that.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Farron. Appreciate it.